Hello and welcome to another podcast from Her Game Too. I'm your host Clayton, and today we're joined by another very special guest. We've got Lucy in the house, who is one of the co-founders. Welcome to the podcast, Lucy.
Thanks for having me on, Clayton. It's a pleasure to be on.
Lovely stuff, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing your story, and especially being a co-founder. I think there's always like a nice backstory to that. I want to know a little bit about how you got involved with the campaign, how you met Kaz, how you became one of the initial 12, I believe it was,
Yeah.
in the launch video. But before we get into that, could you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and I guess your football club's always a good one. Who do you support?
Yeah, so I'm Lucy. I am a Bristol Rovers fan. Like I said, I've been going since the age of 10 with my family. So yeah, I think that's everything in a nutshell.
Nice. And yeah, so you've been going since 10 years old, and you said it was with was it your dad and granddad? So how did you find that at the age of 10, kind of going into a very male dominated environment? And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how you found that as a
Yeah,
kid
I
growing up?
mean, for me, I guess the funny story is I have obviously been all around football since a very young age. The story my mum always says is during Euro 96, when I was like a couple of weeks old, and my dad had come home from work one day and had it on the TV and was looking after me whilst my mum was like taking a nap or having a bath or something. And she came down and she's like, "Why is Lucy so quiet?" And he's like, "Oh, she's watching the football." And my mum said from that moment she knew I was going to be a football fan. So yeah, and then I guess it was probably as I kind of got older, and I think it was probably like the Euros in like 2004. I remember probably watching that on TV for the first time, um, and that was probably my first kind of real introduction to football. Like obviously losing a penalty shootout, getting to actually stay up and watch it, and then it was probably the summer of 2006. So I was probably about 10 years old. Obviously, like the World Cup was on. And started watching football more and more. Had the Panini World Cup sticker book. I'm being so excited about that. And my dad and my mum went to like a summer ball at my school, and they ended up swapping raffle prizes with a guy, and it was 2 tickets to watch Bristol Rovers. So my dad was like, "Oh, shall we go together?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah," because I already had a Rovers shirt. My grandparents bought me it, and I used to wear it as like a nightdress. And I still have that shirt now. Don't think I can fit in it anymore, but I still have it somewhere in my house. And then yeah, I remember everything about the game. I remember who scored, the result, and just feeling like, oh, this is the place for me. Like I just loved it. I just got so caught up with the atmosphere. I guess at that age, I probably didn't see kind of it being a male-dominated environment of just like me and my dad doing something together. And I think because of, my dad and my granddad always encouraging my love for sport, I guess for me, I didn't see it in that way. I think it was only as I got older that I recognized, I guess, that maybe it wasn't so usual to see like a young girl go into football. But like in my family, that wasn't the case, and it was really encouraged. So I'm obviously really, really grateful for that. And obviously after the first season, I started going. I think I went to it was one league game, and then we had two big finals that season, including at Wembley playoffs in 2006-07, which we won. And then from there, I started going more and more and more. I mean, on my 16th birthday, my grandparents bought me my first season ticket, and I cried. So that kind of shows like how like the love has kind of born, and I think it's been a massive family thing. My granddad went from his granddad, so it is like a huge kind of Rovers is in our family, it's in our blood. So it was just nice that for especially my granddad, he it didn't matter that he had, he's got three granddaughters and one grandson, and I was the oldest. He wanted to pass that love of Rovers on to all of his grandchildren. Even my sister, she doesn't really like football, but obviously I love it. So yeah, and he's taken all of us pretty much to games over the past few years.
Oh, that's amazing. It's always nice when it's like it runs in the family as well. Like you say, you have that really nice environment around you to be going. And I think the other thing that hits home there is what you say about when you were a kid, you weren't really aware or processing whether there were males or females. You were just kind of going for the joy and enjoyment of football. And I think that's how we all kind of fall in love with it. We don't really think about all of the other political and social issues that come with it until, like you say, we get older. But that's unfortunately why, yeah, what some of the things that goes wrong as we kind of grow up and get thrown into society and realize that not everyone's heart's in the right place, I guess. And that's where campaigns like Her Game 2 are on the positive side of things born as a result. But going back to the kind of initial being born into Rovers and stuff, you said about your first game, you remember it very well. That is impressive. What was it?
So we played Shrewsbury Town. So it was the 26th of August 2006. So I was 10. We won 1-0. I even know the name of the player that scored, who was called Lewis Haldane. And yeah, and it was just surreal, really. I was just like, oh my God, like I loved it. And then I didn't, for whatever reason, didn't go to another league game. But then over the course of that season, we ended up playing Bristol City in the Johnson Paint Trophy area final, as it was then known. And we drew at their ground, and then we won 1-0 at the Mem. I didn't watch it, but I think it might have been on TV at the time. And by winning, we got to go to Cardiff for the JPT final. And me and my dad got tickets, and we went with my cousin and my uncle. And I just remember being so excited. Like I had like my blue and white foam hand, I had my shirt laid out, and I was just so excited. And I remember just kind of driving, like getting up really early, going to Cardiff, and just looking around and just seeing like all these people, all dressed in the same. And I'm thinking, wow, like this is incredible. And I also remember a lot about that game. I think the story that always makes me laugh is we went 2-0 down in 5 minutes, which is a typical Rovers thing, happens to us in big games. And then we got back to 2-2 in the second half, and fans sang a song, which I'm not going to repeat on a podcast because there is a certain word in there. And I remember my dad shut my ears, and I was like, Dad, what are you doing? And I was like, what are they singing? What are they singing? And he's like, oh, 2-0 down, and they messed it up. I was like, oh, okay. And I just kind of like just took it as that. And I know that he looked at the guy next to him. Unfortunately, we lost that game 3-2 in extra time, but it wasn't like the total, like, it was obviously gutting to lose. But then 7 weeks later, we ended up getting in the playoff finals at New Wembley. So we played 2 massive games back to back. And funnily enough, it was against Shrewsbury Town again. And I remember because it was like a week before my 11th birthday, and my mum was like, oh, so for your birthday present, you could either no, I don't know if it's my birthday present, or like you can either have like a party with your friends and go to Frankie and Benny's or whatever, or we can all go to Wembley and watch Rovers. It's like, we need to go to Wembley. I was like, I want to go. And so it's like, right, everyone's got to come along now for the game, including my sister, who isn't a football fan. And yeah, it was just surreal. I think, and that one we went 1-0 down after like 2 minutes. But we came back and we won 3-1. And the goal that will always stick in everyone's memory is a guy called Sammy Igo scored, and he literally ran so that Shrewsbury had a corner, it got cleared, and the goalkeeper was up, and he got the ball on the edge of the box. He was like the smallest man on the field, and he just ran and ran and ran, and he like shot probably from like the right hand side, probably like 20 yards out, hit the back of the net, and it like rolling, like literally felt like time stood still. And then in like, I think it was like the 92nd minute or something, and it was just like pandemonium. And I just remember just being just so excited. And it was from then really that I started to go more. And then, so my granddad, he supported Rovers for like 70 years, but at the time he was a postman, and he was just kind of coming up to retirement. So he watched that game on TV so he couldn't come to Wembley. Then after that, because he retired, he started to take me more. So it was kind of nice really, because obviously I've had a lot of experiences watching games with my dad over since 2006, but I also have had a lot of experiences watching games with my granddad as well, which for me is like really, really special. Because, you know, we would go to away games, and obviously as time kind of went on, I used to go a lot with him on like the supporters coach, and every time we would go on an away game, he would always have a story to tell. His memory was ridiculous. Like anyone who knew him, he you know, you go to a ground and he was like, oh, I remember a game we played so and so, this was the result, this person scored, and then like a random fact from that day. And I was like, how can you remember it? And I just wish I had told him to like write down a book of all of his memories and stories, because they were just insane. I thought my knowledge was good, but his knowledge was just like incredible.
I was just going to say that you're talking about your granddad as being like an encyclopedia, but your memory is mental from this like 10 minutes we've been chatting. I'm very envious, but no, that sounds beautiful. I think being able to have memories like that with your dad and your granddad, and yeah, especially, I know what you mean about, I think especially people of that generation, I don't know what it is, they just have this ability to tell a story and make you feel like you're there with them. Like, it's not just reciting what happened, it's yeah, being able to take you on that journey with them. It's yeah, beautiful. But just want to fast forward a bit timeline wise. So we've gone from kind of 10-year-old Lucy, what a first season, by the way, being able to witness that. Like, yeah, I can see why you got hooked. That's, I don't think many people experience some of those highs in their first year of physically going. So yeah, fair play. But going from kind of 10-year-old Lucy to more of the modern day 3-4 years ago. So her game too, obviously you're a co-founder, right? So can you tell us a little bit about the kind of backstory and how you got involved? How, well, I don't know if you knew any of the other co-founders before the campaign went live, but can you tell us a little bit about that and the formation of the campaign?
Yeah, so obviously me and Kaz knew each other. Obviously, being Rovers fans, we kind of became friends on like social media. Probably when I was just kind of moving to like uni and stuff. Probably like when I was we were about 17, 18. I think for me it was just seeing like another Rovers fan that was around my same age. I think I that was probably like we spoke about earlier, like, you know, when you say, oh, like recognize that male dominated environment. I think that was probably one of my first notices, because having like a friend that was the same age as you pretty much and also supporting the same team, it felt quite rare. And yeah, I think we just kind of bonded because like we supported the same team, and then we started to bump into each other on away games. Obviously I was kind of like going to different places because obviously I was at uni and stuff, and then I moved to Manchester for a little bit, but then we kind of see each other on away games and things like that. And then, yeah, we just kind of got closer, really. And I think lockdown in particular, so I moved back to Bristol, and we just got really, really like close friends. And she's always been like such an incredible friend to me, you know, throughout, you know, supporting Rovers and stuff. And I think I remember for her, I think it was like January 21. So obviously it was lockdown, so we couldn't go to games. So a lot of people were just kind of watching games on iFollow and then kind of like tweeting. And she basically tweeted about a result for another team. And I think they'd just been promoted into the championship, but there was kind of like a bit of a hoo-ha about how it kind of happened. And you know, she was like, oh, and they were losing, like, and they were losing heavily, like week after week. And she basically tweeted that, like, oh, you know, this team is losing, like this, you know, why are they, how have they even got into the championship? They're losing every week. And that was an opinion that was being expressed by a lot of other fans on social media. You know, it wasn't like the club was like strongly disliked. I think people had a little bit of issue until how they got promoted, you know, with people going up and down with points per game. It was a weird time. So she tweeted that, and I remember looking at social media, and I just like saw like how many like comments it got, and I was like, I don't understand why this has got so many comments where everyone else is saying the same thing. And then just reading the comments, and it was just like just some of the vilest things I've ever read, just sexism, comments about how she looks, like, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, why can't a woman tweet her opinion about football? Like, that's not okay. Like, it wasn't like she was saying anything like really nasty, or, you know, it was just everyone was kind of laughing at the result as well. So I didn't understand why it was just everyone was just going in on her. And I remember we spoke about it a couple of weeks after, because I know how upset it made her. And she was like, if this wasn't lockdown, I wouldn't feel comfortable to go to games. And I was like, this is someone that's a season ticket holder like me, who would, you know, we regularly attend games, and that's how it made her feel. And I just thought that's not on. And I think from that, it was kind of, I think it was like 3 months later, and lockdown was kind of easing and stuff, and we were sat in a pub and we were just talking about a lot of different things, and then she said to me, I think we started talking about like our experiences and stuff, and she said, do you feel like there's a campaign out there talking about sexism in football? And I was like, well, no, I'm not aware of one. And then she said, well, why don't we do a video to highlight our experiences? And instantly I was like, yes. I guess the thing that's the precursor to this is I had actually lost my granddad the day before this conversation. And obviously it was a really kind of upsetting and difficult time. Rovers had also got relegated on the same day. So
wow.
it was, like that happened on the Saturday. And I just remember thinking, well, Rovers got relegated. It was something that was going to happen. We were awful that season, that lockdown season. I tried to forget, to be honest, because it was that bad. And then that happened. And then, obviously we kind of had gone out almost to kind of clear my mind, really, because obviously everything that happened. And then, we literally just had this conversation. And then from there, we just kind of started to reach out to people on social media, people that we followed, people that we saw had tweeted about stuff. Because I think a lot of people had started to, recognize that this was an issue. And, other people were having the same experience that Cavs have, like tweeting their opinion and people just piling on.
Did you ever have experiences like that? I don't know if you're on social media or you were back then.
So not to the extent that Kaz got, but for me, a story that I always remember is I was probably about 17, and the week before we had played Wickham, and at the time we were in a relegation battle. We weren't doing very well. And I was there. I think it was me, my granddad, my nan, my auntie, my cousin, and myself, all gone to the game. And I had basically tweeted a picture of me and my auntie like cheering on the team. Now I didn't even know it's been taken. I didn't even know it was. I think it was like a proper photography account. Didn't know it was been taken. And then and it's actually a Rovers fan who took the picture. So I think it got tweeted the week after the game. So it was the day before the last game of the season. Then took the picture on the morning of the game and just took it and like zoomed in on my face, on my nose in particular. Now, without saying any words, it made me feel incredibly rubbish about myself. And it kind of ate into quite a lot of insecurities about myself. Like, one, why was it me? Like, I didn't ask for that picture to be taken. I was cheering on my team like anyone else was in that ground. But what is it that's wrong with me? Like, and what is it wrong with my face? And I remember it made me feel really, really anxious. I didn't talk about it to anybody. And I remember going to the game and feeling like sick that someone's going to come up to me and say about it in front of like my family. And then it was a conversation that didn't want to happen. I mean, the weird thing that also happened that day was we ended up getting relegated. We out of the Football League. So I think obviously it ended up being a really, really upsetting day for that. But luckily it meant that the social media stuff kind of disappeared because everyone was just talking about the relegation and like moaning upset on that. And then on that summer I moved to uni. So yeah, that's something that kind of always stuck with me. And I think it stuck with me more because it was a Rovers fan. I was like, we all support the same team. And I just, and I think for a while from there, it really didn't make me feel very good about myself. But I also think because I had the opportunity to move away, that kind of helped. So I wasn't kind of in and around it as much. But yeah, that was probably the thing that's been the most difficult on social media in the last few years.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. I know that can't be easy to talk about, but would you say how helpful is it in periods where you have horrible comments like that you're having to deal with? And like you said as well, you had your own kind of personal issues, losing your granddad as well. Like, don't even want to know what headspace you're in, but how helpful is it to now have a community like you've got at Her Game too? And I don't even know how many members there are within there, but I know I'm in the Slack and WhatsApp and there's easily over 100, but I don't know what the official number is. But before you answer that one, could you also tell me a little bit around like when the campaign was launched? It was obviously the video of all 12 of you, right? What were some of the steps that were taken to take it from that kind of viral video to a not-for-profit organization that's now been set up and officially partnered with over 70 clubs in the Football League? I know there'll be lots of
Yeah.
different, I guess, domino effect decisions that happened along the way, but can you help as a co-founder and director paint that picture of what it was like and some of the steps that were taken to kind
Yeah,
of
I
bridge
mean,
that gap?
from like the community side, I think obviously like the tweet that I talked about happened like in like when I was like 17, so quite a few years ago now. But yeah, I think losing my granddad and then like the conversation that me and Kaz had about her game too, obviously we didn't even know the name of it then. It kind of gave me an opportunity to channel my grief into something that, you know, almost kind of keep my mind kind of occupied and busy. So obviously I didn't know then what it was going to become. And obviously it was just something like almost like a new project really, and something that I can really get my teeth into. And I guess in terms of obviously when the video was kind of launched, and obviously we were all kind of in a ahead of time when we Kaz kind of got everything together. We got together in a Twitter group chat. So none of us had pretty much, apart from me and Kaz, none of us had met in person before, which I find so weird now. And it also kind of strange in the sense that, you know, social media was obviously a big reason to why we started Her Game Too, but it was also a really positive thing because it brought us all together. And a lot of the ambassadors we found have been through social media and people reaching out to us. But yeah, obviously we did the video, we put it out on FA Cup final day, and obviously the response was absolutely massive. It was beyond anything we thought of, and obviously there's a lot of media attention. And then I guess from then I think it was crazy really, because I think we were trying to think like what kind of avenue do we want to go down. One of the very first things we did was our survey, because I think we thought that, you know, a lot of people were coming to us, a lot of people were messaging us about their experiences, but we thought having actual data and research behind us is really, really important. So we asked female fans, people within the industry, to like send us a message, and then we would send them a link, because obviously we didn't want to put it out publicly because, you know, people could infiltrate it, and, you know, put in comments that, you know, they're just trying to complete it not for the right reasons. And yeah, so then we did that, and I think out of almost 400 responses, you know, almost 92% of female fans had seen sexism online towards another woman in football. Almost 63% had experienced it themselves online, and over 58% experienced it in a pub or ground. And obviously that was really significant. And I remember when we got the survey results, there was a few things. One of the big things that came up was people not knowing where to report and not feeling comfortable to report. So that was a big thing. We were like, I think that was a big thing that we wanted to tackle. But it was just, we gave people the opportunity to kind of talk about their experiences. And that was really difficult. Like reading through some of those stories still to this day haunt me and are harrowing. And if I had experienced a quarter of that, I'd never step foot in a football ground again. And it was really, really hard. And I know that when we saw it, I think we were all shocked. We were all like, wow. And it really kind of, I guess, like took your breath away, but in a sense of like, this has been going on and there's been nothing out there to support these women. And I found that really, really sad, and really kind of like, I think it almost made us more determined to do more. So then when we started to reach out to clubs to say, you know, this is what we're all about, that's why we wanted to have the survey results, because then, you know, it's all well and good saying, you know, this is a video, this is who we are, but to actually have that behind us to be like, okay, these are our, do you have a reporting system in place? Do fans know where to go to report things? Does it highlight all types of discrimination? Was a big thing. And I think that caught a lot of clubs' attention, because they were like, okay, like it isn't just, you know, however many of us saying this is who we are. We've actually got evidence to prove it. And I think that was a big thing why we wanted to have the reporting system in place, because female fans didn't know where to go. And I think that has been a real, really important for the work that we've been doing, and I think actually shining a light on, you know, female fans actually not only having a place to go, but I think because we are fans ourselves, I think they know that we're like trusted. And again, like you talked about earlier, it is a community. You know, we're all there to support each other. You know, the ambassadors are there to support anyone that kind of reports anything. You know, whether it's in person, whether it's on a phone call, you know, whichever kind of way that they feel is best. And obviously we support each other as well. Our ambassadors, they get training, they can access, a mental health support app. And I think that's really important. I think for us as well, it's kind of how we've kind of navigated and grown as well, because, the main kind of directors, we're all learning as well. My background is not in, if someone had told me, it's weird, this week would be 10 years since I went to uni. If someone had told me 10 years ago that I would be, a co-founder and director of a award-winning organisation to tackle sexism in football, I probably would have said, you're crazy. I never would have imagined it would happen. But yeah, it's something that I am so proud of. I'm so proud of the work that we've put in. But we also know there's still quite a long way to go. We still get the regular reports come in. But we want female fans to know, and not just fans as well, officials, coaches, physios, sports therapists, pundits, journalists, whoever needs it, that we are there to support them in whatever capacity that they need from us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing all of that. And yeah, you're right. I think there's one thing where I can imagine for people that are going through those horrible comments and experiences in person, feeling like you've got nowhere to actually report it, but feel protected while doing so is probably one of the most like unhelpful things you can ever feel. And I imagine now those people, like you said, you're all fans yourselves, they probably feel a level of empathy when they're able to actually go and report within Her Game Too. And if you wouldn't mind, could you just spend 30 seconds to a minute just explaining a little bit around the Her Game Too reporting side of things for anyone that's listening now and has heard you talk a little bit around it, if they're experiencing anything that they want to report, how they can go about doing that?
Yeah, so obviously our reporting system on our website, it's for in-person instances as well as stuff on social media. So if you see like a sexist comment online, it can be sent to us via that way. And yeah, obviously any reports that we do get sent to us, we'll take to, obviously we have as long as the person feels comfortable, to give their details, they don't have to, they have an option to remain anonymous currently. Which I think is really, really important as well, because, we don't ever want to put people in a position where they feel like they have to provide information that they don't feel comfortable with. And then, yeah, we'll take it to the club, through the ambassador. We'll also put them in touch with the ambassador as well, if it's their club, to see, what support that they can provide. And also we've got quite a good relationship with like the Football League, for example, the football policing unit. So if it needs to be escalated to them, then it will be. The Football League are cited on any reports that come into us, so they can also make sure that the clubs are being followed up and action is being taken. And I think that's really important. And over the last few years, as a result of reports coming in, people have had bans and been put on education courses. And I think that's really, really important. I think actually to recognise that clubs are taking this seriously is really good to see. But also that leagues, FA, the governing bodies are actually taking action. I think it was a couple of years ago that a club got fined for a misogynistic chant towards a female physio, and that would never have happened 2, 3, maybe 5 years ago. And I think that shows actually the importance of reporting, and also like the stance that sexism and misogyny, as in all type of discrimination, is not being tolerated and action will be taken.
Yeah, nicely said. Thank you very much. And I want to take it a bit higher level now. So Her Game Too was obviously started around football, right? But football's not the only sport that Her Game Too supports now, right? Could you Before I ask the follow-up question, can you tell me a little bit around the other sports that Her Game 2 support?
We one of the, like I said, when Her Game 2 started, one of our kind of longer term aims was to branch out into other sports. Never did I imagine it would happen so quickly. So we have branched out into cricket, rugby, and ice hockey, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, that's great. And I know you obviously help lead on the cricket side of things, right? Well, so I'm a massive football fan, and unfortunately, I have seen and experienced discrimination of all sorts in football. Cricket, I'm like a fair weather fan. Like I went through a period where, especially when England won the T20 World Cup, what year would that have been now? It was, I think, like 2016 or 17, around then. I was a massive cricket nerd then, but I don't follow cricket anymore, so I don't really know. But can you give me a flavour and an insight into what discrimination is like within the game of cricket? Is it similar or different to football in terms of its scale and severity? And then in terms of Her Game 2, how does Her Game 2 help to address challenges within that sport compared to football?
Yeah, so obviously with cricket it's slightly different. I think it's more of, yes, you do get the comments, but I think it's more, so I guess it's more having the opportunities for female players to kind of get involved, and I guess it's like the equipment side, having to wear equipment that doesn't fit them, clothes that didn't fit them, being left out, having comments said to them, and also sign of the facilities. We so myself and Paige, who leads on Her Game 2 Cricket, we've had conversations with multiple clubs, and hearing about like the facilities, and sometimes they've turned up to games and there's not even been a working women's toilet or access to sanitary products. That is a massive barrier, and that can stop women and girls participating. And I think especially around sanitary products as well, I think there's been a big thing about the color of like cricket clothes, to, I guess, kind of stop women feeling uncomfortable, if they're on their period or something. We've got a really good connection with a company called Fab Little Bag, and they do incredible work in terms of, not only providing provisions for coaches to, I guess, kind of to stop, girls and women feeling uncomfortable if it started whilst they were playing, but also, having that sustainability side of, the disposal of the products as well, because like you said, some clubs don't even have a bin or have access to products, and I think that's a big thing. In terms of kind of like the origins of kind of how it started as well, it was Gloucestershire County Cricket Club and Western Sun that approached Her Game 2. I think it was in like April 2022, and said, we feel like there's a need to take this into cricket.
That's brilliant.
And that for us was amazing. Obviously, I'm based in Bristol, Gloucestershire are my local team, and out of like the main, obviously, kind of like doing the day-to-day running of Her Game 2, I was the one that's like, I really quite like cricket as well. I'm quite keen to kind of lead on this. And for me, that was really, really exciting. So yeah, just seeing how that's kind of grown, and obviously having Paige, who, we brought her in as the Lancs ambassador, and she's been incredible in kind of running with Her Game 2 Cricket. And now we've got partners with Somerset, Lancashire Cricket Club, Leicestershire Cricket Club, and Essex. We've also got partners with like a few national counties such as Devon and Wiltshire, as well as universities as well. So, which is really nice because it's kind of showing, women and girls, when they kind of go into uni, they might have had the opportunity to play with the younger. Cricket is for them, and they can enjoy it, and not only for like the social side, but actually kind of having that opportunity to play in team sport. I think also a massive thing, and what's been on in like kind of like on the cricket radar, is sexism and misogyny, because last year there was the ICEC report commissioned, and it basically said that cricket has issues with racism, sexism, classism. It was quite damning, and I think it was very much a watershed moment. And I think from there, it's kind of, clubs have kind of really started to recognise why, the importance of not only making sure that your club is a safe and comfortable environment for women and girls to play, but also watching as well, and making sure they've got, reporting systems, adequate, disposal systems. And it's really important, and for us, kind of the growth of home game 2 cricket has been like a little bit slower than obviously the football side. Obviously the football side kind of exploded. But the work that we have been doing, and things like our dedicated fixtures, for example, Gloucestershire have been amazing. They've done three already over the last 3 seasons that we've been partnered. The first 2 around T20 games with double headers, and this year has been an ODI fixture, and we're able to have our own stall there, and it's been so positive. And obviously we're really, really grateful to have support from counties like that. And I think because they kind of recognise the need ahead of this ICC report coming out, I think it shows actually that we're working with clubs that actually want to make that difference and want to encourage women and girls to participate in the sport and actually come down and watch the sport.
I know you say that football has exploded in comparison to cricket, and the cricket's perhaps going slightly slower. I still think you've achieved a lot in a short period of time. Like you said, it only started in 2022 on the cricket side of things, right? Like the kind of achievements you listed off there, I think in my head seem like quite a lot in a space of 2 years. But the question that immediately comes to mind on kind of both sides, really, football and cricket, is, and also what you said earlier, like 10 years since uni, and if you told your younger self where you'd be today and what you've achieved in that period, it's kind of mind-blowing. What do you think has been the key or some of the most pivotal moments and contributed to the campaign's success in such a short period of time? Because so much has been achieved in a very short period of time.
I mean, that's so hard. I think for us, one thing that always sticks in my head is when we partnered with Everton on Boxing Day. To get our first Premier League partner within the first 6-7 months of Her Game 2 was beyond anything we could have imagined. And the support of Everton since the very, very beginning has been incredible. Whether it's having Seamus Coleman as a player advocate, whether they've done dedicated fixtures, whether it's that the women's team highlighting what we've been doing, it's been really, really incredible. And so that for me has always been something that's always stuck in my head. I think as well, just being recognised, whether it's the Football Content Awards or having platform with meeting people that I guess inspire you, and being in a room with those people. I think you still kind of get that imposter syndrome. You're like, oh my gosh, like, well, what am I doing here? And I think actually sometimes you don't really get the opportunity to kind of sit back and kind of reflect and be like, wow, like this is what 12 women achieved by all getting together in a Twitter group chat. Like, it is surreal. I think on like the cricket side as well, I think just seeing like the growth of it, and like you said, I am so proud of how we've grown, and it's been really organic as well. And I think I'm hoping that over the next couple of years we continue to grow, because I think it's really, really important to show that Her Game 2, even though it started in football, isn't just about football. It's about sport in general, and making it a safe and welcome environment for all. And whatever sport you want to participate in, or whether it's playing or watching, or whether it's want to be a journalist or a ref or whatever it may be, actually feeling that it's a place for you, I think is so important. So yeah, I think for me as well, probably like the first dedicated fixture we had with Gloucestershire, I was really lucky to be there. And they've got like boards at the ground, and just their continued support for us. It really does mean a lot. And yeah, I mean, obviously on Saturday just gone, I was actually at the finals day, so I got to cheer them on as a fan as well with my mum, which is another kind of crazy situation, because like my mum wasn't a cricket fan, but then she went to Barbados with my dad, and he taught her the
What
game.
better place to fall in love?
I know. I mean, I'm slightly jealous that it wasn't me. They got to go, but he taught her the game, and now she loves it. And now there's time that me and my mum will go to cricket on our own without my dad, and I just really love that, because I never thought we would actually have that, where she liked going to football and stuff, but like just seeing her face like enjoy it, it's just, for me, it's really lovely to see. And the fact that I got to experience a final say with her meant a lot. And because for me, I guess growing up, it was watching football with my dad and my granddad. And now, obviously, as I've got older, like, yeah, my first cricket experience was with my dad and his friends. But the fact that we can go together and we feel safe, comfortable, people chat to us. I think that's what she loves. She loves that welcoming environment, which Gloucestershire especially have. And it's just, yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's lovely. I really like what you did earlier as well in terms of outlining the differences between sports because discrimination comes in different forms, right? So I think where in football that while there is still inclusivity issues and I think opportunity as well for people, I think in cricket that where I don't know the sport, it was so interesting for me to hear about the kind of the equipment and the sanitary products and all of those things that I think unless you've got an organization and a campaign like Her Game 2 going in and educating people, I'm not sure your average Joe will really think about things like that until they're told. So it's really interesting to hear the differences and the challenges across the two sports. And I think that's where Her Game 2 is hopefully going to be continue to drive that going forward. It brings me nicely onto the kind of I feel like this is the question everyone hates in job interviews, right? Like, what's your 3-year plan? But if I can ask that, like, because you spoke about you've got ideas for the next couple of years, what would you say can take this into cricket, football, whatever you like, the whole organization? What are your hopes for Her Game 2 in the next 3 years? And you did touch on other sports and it being a sport for all. Are there other sports you'd like to see Her Game 2 go into?
And and in terms of other sports, I hadn't actually considered it. To be fair, I think we're starting to recognise that, sports are becoming a little bit more inclusive. I think, people will argue, is this a sport, is it a pub sport? People can have their own debates about that. Darts, if people know me, they know I love a lot of sports. I'll watch pretty much anything.
I love
But,
darts.
but darts is something that I love. And I think, over the last couple of years, that's shown a massive reason is, like they said on commentary, Fallon Sherrock broke the glass ceiling. And that's a line that's kind of stuck in history. And, there's been, a few kind of women that's kind of participated in cricket, in darts. Sorry, I'm thinking about cricket now. About in darts, like Lisa Ashton and stuff, and obviously Fallon winning in the World Championship. But, they've got younger players. I think the one that I think is going to blow everyone out the water is Bo Greaves. She's been incredible. And if you read about her and how she's been performing this year or over the last couple of years, I honestly think if she gets into the World Championship, she could genuinely surprise a lot of people. But yeah, I think for me and kind of Her Game 2, I would obviously on the football side, I'd love us to get all the 92 partnered up. I know that's something that we would love to do. And I think just continue to spread the word throughout our grassroots partners, to be able to give back more. I think for me, really keen to go into education. I think it's so important. I think that is where we will be able to make a difference. Obviously we're making a difference in the grounds, the dedicated fixtures, but I think education is really going to get people to really understand why. I think getting those younger age groups to really understand why Her Game 2 is important is huge. I think on the cricket side, yeah, I would love to get more counties, more universities, more national boards on board, to be able to have more and more dedicated fixtures would be amazing. And it's been amazing, to see how many have got on board. And just to strengthen that and actually to again just kind of highlight, Her Game 2 to spread our messaging and actually having, players and important people speaking out. We did a video this year with some of the players at Gloucestershire who, spoke about the female influencers in their life and why it was important for them to have, why it is that they do what they do and how important it is to have that influence and support behind them. And I think that shows, and I think having those male allies is massive, and just growing that as well, because obviously building that female support community is huge. Also having male allies who have got a voice to advocate and support us both publicly and behind the scenes as well is huge. So yeah, I think that's it from me.
Lovely stuff. And then for obviously that's a lot of ambition and very realistic things that can be done, but we're going to need support along the way, right? And so, what would your message be for any listeners or fans that want to support and get involved with Her Game Too along the journey?
I mean, obviously, in terms of support, just sharing what we do on social media. You know, we really, really appreciate everyone that's supporting, whether it's attending dedicated fixtures, whether it's, you know, supporting your local grassroots team, whether it's, you know, providing funding for that. I think that's a massive thing. And because, you know, that is where you're going to get your next Lucy Bronze, Ella Toons, Leah Williamson's is from the local grassroots teams. And yeah, just thank you to everyone who has continued to support us, because, you know, there has been ups and downs along the way. And I think for us, it's, you know, we appreciate everyone who supports us, and continue to spread our message, because obviously without you, we can't do what we do. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And I've got my final question before we get out of here. And that is, if you could say in your own words what Her Game Too is, how would you describe it?
I'd say that Her Game Too is a female community that supports anyone who needs it, fans, players, pundits, to ensure that, you know, if they experience any kind of discrimination, that they are not alone. And we are here. We're listening to you. We will support you in any way that we can. And we will advocate and we will fight for you, because you're not alone. We're all in this together. And you shouldn't have to experience it. And yeah, I am extremely, extremely proud to be a part of it. It has become a massive part of my life. I probably think about it every single day in some sort of format, whether it's talking to someone at work, whether it's, you know, thinking about what, you know, what more we could do. And yeah, yeah, I'm just really honoured to be a part of it, really.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time, Lucy. It's been such a powerful, I was going to say interview. I can't think of an alternative. So I'll say conversation. That's the better word. No, but it's been a very powerful conversation and you shared a lot. And I think the thing as well for me was, like, you mentioned education a few minutes ago. I think that's a big thing. Like the cricket thing for me is an eye opening for for me personally, because like I say, it's not a sport I know too well. So like you say, where we want to make sport a game for all, I think the education piece is massive with that, because you don't need to be an expert on a sport to be able to understand why some people may feel uncomfortable or discriminated against in those sports. So that for me is one of the messages that really resonated with me. And to help on that education piece, that's why we've obviously started a podcast series, right? It's the ability to educate people through a different platform, to raise awareness on the amazing work that you're all doing at Her Game Too. And as I always say on these episodes, I think I'm becoming a bit of a meme for this, but it is a case of just sharing it with your networks, giving it a like on the stream, because it's not doing the YouTube plugging, it's helping raise awareness that way. And we always say this: if one person new discovers Her Game Too today, that's a success in our eyes. So if you are listening, if any of Lucy's story has resonated with you, if any of what the campaign is looking to achieve resonates with you, please drop the stream a like, subscribe to the channel so you can hear everyone's story and future guests. And if you're listening on audio, please give it a 5-star review, because that's how it helps with the discoverability. Lucy, thank you very much. Where can people follow you on the socials?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn. I mean, I think you're testing my brain now. I think my Twitter and my Instagram is LUCEFORD_. So yeah, and our Her Game Too cricket account, I think it's HGT cricket, and Her Game Too cricket on Instagram.
Lovely stuff. Thanks very much. Go follow all of those accounts. And like I said, spread the love, share the word, and let's continue to raise awareness as we continue with this campaign. Lucy, thanks a lot. Love this chat. Have a great day. Cheers, everyone.